Hi, today I'm going to go over Math 106, Geometry for Elementary Teachers, Midterm Review, 20 math questions. Number 1. A rectangular table seats 6 people, 1 person on each end and 2 on each of the longer side. So let's start with the first one. Looking at this right here and looking at one table, what we have here is the following: 1 at each end and 2 on each longer side. So we have 2 here and 2 here. So for figure number one, what we have, I'm using different colors to show you the pattern because math is all about patterns, noticing what's going on, writing equations, solving, and so on. So for figure number 1, we have 1 and 1 at the ends, and we have plus 4, which is 2 on each side, a total of 6. For figure number 2, we have 1 on the left, 1 on the right, and we have the same idea. Same thing for the last one. We have 1 at each end and 2 on the longer sides. Now, notice right here we have 2 tables placed end to end, seats 10 people. Let's see how that is happening. So we have 1 at the left end, 1 at the right end, and we have plus 4 plus 4. So I want you to notice the following, that we have 4 and 4. For the third figure, we have 1 at each end, 4, 4, 4. So let's think about 4s. Number 3, 1 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 1. So going to the figures, we have figure number 2, figure number 3, and the answer is 1 plus 4 plus 1. Second one, 1 plus 2 4s plus 1, and third figure, 1 plus 3 4s plus 1. And since we noticed that it says 10 people for 2 tables, let's double check right here. We have 1 plus 8 plus 1, which is 10. So if we continue the same pattern, what do we have for n tables? We're going to end up with 1 at each end plus how many 4s? It's going to be n 4s. Instead of writing n4, we write 4 times n. So what's the formula? The formula for part A, how many people can be seated in n tables are placed in a line end to end. The answer is, for this one right here, 4n plus 2. Why 2? Because we have 1 on the left, 1 on the right, 1 on the left, and 1 on the right. How many tables for part B? How many tables set end to end are required to seat 24 people? If you keep trying, notice that when n equals 5, we have what? 5, 4 times 5 plus 2, that's 20 plus 2, which is 22. But we need one more table to seat for 24 people. So 22 for 5 tables. If you want to solve it algebraically, that's going to be 24 equals 4 times n plus 2. subtract 2 from both sides, and we end up with 22 equals 4n divide by 4, and we have n equals 5.5. As you could see right here, 5 is not enough. So we need 5.5 tables, but we can't say 5.5 tables. So in other words, we need 6 tables. 6 tables are needed. Meaning we're going to end up with 2 seats open. That should do it. Okay. Solve the following system. The word. Okay, now to solve this problem, we could have 2 ways. We could move the minus 6x to the other side, move the minus 5x to the other side, and leave y's alone. So this ends up y equal positive 6x by adding 6x to both sides, minus 36. And the second one is y equal positive 5x minus 31. Assuming that the first one is y1 and the second one is y2, we could here imply that y1 equals y2 to merge them together, which is called substitution. That means 6x minus 36 equals 5x minus 31. We need x's on one side only, so I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides, and that will give me 1x minus 36 equals negative 31. Let's add 36 to both sides, and now this cancels. We end up with x by itself equals negative 31 plus 36, or differently 36 take away 31, which is 5. But we're not done. The reason why, because we need to solve for y. To solve for y, one option would be take this 5, plug it in one of the equations, either one will do. So y equal 5 times x, but x is 5, minus 31, which is 25 minus 31, and that is minus 6. So y is negative 6. So what's the answer? The answer for this problem is x is 5 and y negative 6. Or you could do the following. We could multiply, for example, the first equation times negative 1. So the first equation becomes minus y positive 6x equals positive 36, and the second equation is y minus 5x equals negative 31. Now we could add them up. Once we add them, the reason why we multiply by negative 1 is to have the same amounts of one variable. This time it's x. This time it's y. Y cancels, and that's called elimination method or solve y addition. On the left side, 6x take away 5x, that's 1x. On the right side, 36 minus 31, which is 5, again as before. Then after that, you take the 5 in either one of them, doesn't matter which one. You could just plug in the 5 here and solve for y, and y is going to end up negative 6. So the answer is 5 and negative 6. Number 3. Compute the distance between the 2 points given, -2, 5, and 4 and 13. The distance formula is known as d equal square root of x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square, which is actually, if you square both sides, it looks like c square equals a square plus b square, the Pythagorean theorem. So for this, I'm gonna pick as this one 0.1 x1 y1 and this one as x2 y2, which is 0.2. So second point, which is x2 y2, will be 4 and 13. The first point, that's x1 y1, that is -2 and 5. So that will be my x2, and that will be my, so I said x2, y2 and y1, and the green one will be x2 and x1. Going back to the problem, so we have now x2 will be 4. That's my x2 right here. And my x1 would be -2 minus -2. And y2 will be 13. y1 will be 5. Equals 4 minus -2 will be 6. So we have 6 square. And 13 minus 5 is 8. 6 square is 36. So we have 36. And 8 square is 64, equals square root of 100, which is 10. That's the distance between these 2 points. Number 4. Determine the point B, that's this B right here, so that the slope of PQ, that's P, and that is Q, for the 2 points. Given the slope is 5, the slope is 2. The slope is defined to be difference of y over difference of x, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, rise over run. One more time, the same concept. Let's put them lined up. That's my second point, x2, y2, and that's my first point, b and 3. So this ends up x2, y2 minus y1 will be 7 minus 3, that's the y's, this right here. x2 minus x1 will be 4 minus b. But the slope was given to me to be 2. So we have one equation, one variable, which is the way we like to solve. To finish the problem, left side is 2. Right side, we have 7 minus 3, which is 4, over 4 minus b. We could switch between 2 and 4 minus b, or we could cross multiply. Let's just cross multiply now. We'll put 2 as 2 over 1, and we do cross multiply this way. So we end up with 2 multiplied by 4 minus b equals 4 times 1. That means 2 multiplied by 4 minus b equals 4. divide both sides by 2. So we have the 2 cancels, and we end up with 4 minus b equals 2. We could use mental math. 4 minus 2 equals 2, or subtract 4, then divide by -1. Let's do that. Subtract 4, and now we have minus b, don't forget the negative sign, equals 2 minus 4, which is -2. Divide both sides by -1, divide by -1, and now b is 2. So determine b. b is 2. That's the answer. Number 5. Remember, we have 20 questions. Determine k so that the line 7x plus ky equals 21 is parallel to the line 3x minus 5y plus 45 equals 0. So we need to find k such that the two lines are parallel. Parallel means same slope. Same slope. One way to find the slope is when we think about y equals mx plus b. When we write it this format, that is the slope. The slope is the coefficient of x when it's written as y equals mx plus b. So let's rewrite the first equation in this format. We're going to subtract 7x from both sides. So we have ky equals negative 7x plus 21. After this cancels, then we're going to divide both sides by k to leave y alone. That's one way to do it instead of using a long fraction bar. Divide every term by k. Left side is just y equals negative 7 over kx plus 21 over k. What we care about is the slope, and that is the slope. So the slope for the first equation is negative 7 over k. Let's call that y1. Now the second equation, we're gonna subtract 3x from both sides. We could also subtract 45 from both sides at the same time, but let's just go step by step. So now we could cancel this, and we come down with negative 5y plus 45 equals negative 3x. Now we could subtract 45 from both sides, and we have the 45 cancels. On the left we have negative 5y equals negative 3x minus 45. Then we're going to divide by negative 5 both sides, meaning every term. Now the y by itself, let's call it y2, equals negative 3x over negative 5. That's positive 3 over 5x, because the negative cancels, and minus 45 over negative 5, which is plus 9. The slope for this problem is (3 over 5). Since we have the same slope, parallel lines, now m1, let's write m1 equals negative 7 over k, and m2 equals 3 over 5. Since m1 equals m2, since we have parallel lines, we're gonna say that negative 7 over k equals 3 over 5, then we're gonna cross multiply. When we cross multiply, we get 3 multiplied by k equals negative 7 multiplied by 5. So 3k equals negative 35. Divide both sides by 3 to cancel the 3 from the left and leave k by itself. So k equals negative 35 by 3. That's the answer. But if you want to go further than that, you could simplify it. That's negative 11 and 2/3, or negative 11.6 repeating. Number 6. We have 2 points, A and B. This point right here is at the left. Point B 2, 4, which is on the right side. What is the equation of the line through the midpoint? That's my midpoint. That is perpendicular. Excuse me. As you could see, I have the 90-degree angle. So we need the equation for this line. To find the equation for this line, let's find the midpoint first. That's one of the points that we need. The midpoint will be x1 plus x2 over 2, halfway for the x's and halfway for the y's, or the average, which is x1, that's my x1, and that's my y1, that's my x2, and that's my y2. So for the problem right here, we have 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2 divided by 2, and y1 is negative 2 plus 4 for y2 divided by 2. 1 plus 2 over 2, that's 3 over 2, 1.5. Negative 2 plus 4, that's 2, 2 over 2, which is 1. So the midpoint is 3 over 2 and 1. Let's point to it right here and write 3 over 2 and 1. Now, the slope of AB is the following: y2 minus y1, we just did that, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that's 4 minus negative 2, 4 plus 2, which is 6, over 2 minus 1, which is 1, and that is 6. So the slope for this line is 6. The slope for this line will be m2, which is opposite reciprocal, which is negative 1 over 6. So parallel lines, they have the same slope. Perpendicular lines, they have opposite reciprocals. Now the equation for the line that we want, we have the slope and we have a point, and we're not told to write which format: slope, intercept form, or point slope form. So we're going to write one of them. It's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That's a point slope form. So it's y minus a point given, that's this point, we're going to write 1, equals m, which is negative 1 over 6, times x minus x1, and x1 is 3 over 2. So that should be the equation of the perpendicular line to the given line segment. You could add the one to both sides, use the distributive, and simplify it if you're asked, but in this case, it just says write the equation. Number 7. Write the equation of the function that agrees with the table of values. Usually our book says guess because they want you to try and use the guess method. But let me show you some techniques. If you notice right here, the numbers are out of order. 0 here, 1 here, 2 here, 3 is missing, 4 and 5. But if you keep looking at the numbers, from 0 to 2, you could say I'm adding 2, but that doesn't work here. I'm not adding 2. Doesn't work here either. So there is more things involved than just adding 2. 5 to 17, maybe I could think about the 5 to 17 is like 15 plus 2, but 15 is 3 5s. So let's try. Going this way, 3 times 4 is 12, then plus 2. So here's another way to make it more clear. Take a look at this. I have 0 in the beginning, 1, 2, 3 is missing, 4 and 5. If you notice the following, that means it's linear. Going this way, since I'm not skipping between 0, 1 and 1 and 2, that's adding 3. Also here, we're adding 3. Here, we're adding 3. So if I want to guess what number is this, I'm going to add 3 here, and that's going to be 8 plus 3, which is 11. Once you have the same fixed constant difference, it's linear. Here's another thing that you need to know. Notice that 0, 2 is in a different color. Why? Because if you are dealing with the 0, 2, that is called in math the y-intercept. Why? Because just think about it. Here's x and y axis, and where's 0, 2? Somewhere here. That's called the y-intercept. So we have the y-intercept. So what's the equation? The equation now is y equal 3x plus 2, which is similar to mx plus b. That is the answer. Let's double check. We assumed that 3 will take me to 11. Plug in 3 here and see if the answer is 11. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. So yes, that is correct. So the equation is 3x plus 2. Number 8. How many degrees does the minute hand of a clock turn through 10 minutes? Now if you notice right here, we have the 10 minutes. If you go another 10 minutes, you're going to go through the 4, another 10 minutes through the 6, another 10 minutes through the 8, another 10 minutes through the 10, another 10 minutes will go back to 12. This is just like a quick concept. If you want to go 9 minutes, it doesn't work this way, or 7.5 minutes. So what's the right way of doing it? The right way is we could write that we have 2 titles, and I'll show you how to build the proportion. So I'm going to write minutes here, and I'm going to write degrees here. Now, for the minutes, 10 minutes, that's my question right here. How many degrees? So I'm not going to write question mark, I'll just write x for the unknown. But we know that the clock is 60 minutes, going all the way around, that's 60 minutes. So 60 minutes is corresponding to degrees 360 degrees. Once you do that, you could build a fraction bar here and a fraction bar right here and make an equal sign. Now what do I have? I do have a proportion. So cross multiply and solve, and you're done. Let's do this. Cross multiply. So I have 60 times x equals 10 times 360. Divide both sides by 60 to solve for x, and now we have 60 cancels, and on the right hand side we could divide by 61, divide by 66, and we end up with x by itself on the left, 10 times 6, which is 60 degrees, and that's the answer. Let's double check. Now notice, if I look at it this way, that's 10 minutes, which is 1 10 minutes, 2 10 minutes, another 10 minutes, another 10 minutes, another 10 minutes, another 10 minutes. So that's 6 equivalent portions of the 60 degrees. If you need this much, that's 1 out of 6. 1 out of 6, because we have 6 equal units or slices of 360 degrees. And if you simplify this, you get 1 out of 6 of means times 360, same answer. That's a shortcut. Number 9. Number 9 says excuse me, the lines L and M are parallel lines. So these lines are parallel lines. Find the measure of the angle numbered 6. This angle right here. You could do this in different ways, but let's start in a very simple way. Now this right here is 60, so this right here is 60. So we could write that angle number 5 is 60 because it's vertical angles. Also we could tell that if this is 70, number 9 is 70. So we could write here 70. Now this is a triangle, this right here, which means the sum of the angles should add up to 180, meaning I have inside the triangle, we have these angles add up to 60. The sum, I said 60 by mistake, 180. So far we have 60 and we have 70 and we have the angle 6 right here. Let's call it x. So this one here is x, which is unknown. So I'm gonna say x. And the sum should be 180. But that's the same thing. 60 plus 70 is 130. 130 plus x should give me 180. That means if you subtract 130 from both sides, I get x equals 50. So this, the measure of angle, the angle number 6 is 50 degrees. That should do it. For the regular n-gon shown, in this case n is 5, n is 5. As you could see, we could count them. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. Give the measures of the interior angles and the central angles and the exterior. Let's start with the interior. For the interior angles, that means the measure of these angles. But since it's regular polygon, they're all equal. Now each, to find each, we need to find the sum first. Let's find the sum. the sum of the interior angles is known to be n minus 2 times 180. But n is 5, so we have 5 minus 2 times 180, which is 3 times 180, and that is 540. So now each will be 540 divided by 5. Why 5? Because we have 5 angles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once you divide, you get 108 degrees. So the interior, each one of them is 108 degrees, and it looks like more than 90. Always, it's good to know that it does make sense. For the exterior angles, those are called exterior angles, and so on. Well, if you notice, if you go all the way around, it makes a full circle. They add up to 360. So to find each, we'll divide the sum 360 by how many, which is 5, and that's 72 degrees. And it looks like 72 degrees. Central angle. The central angle is right here. The central angle. But if you notice, if you look at all of them, the central angles, they add up to also 360, which means we have 360 divided by 5, and that's also 72 degrees. Meaning the exterior angles for regular polygon and the central angles for regular polygon are the same. Now the interior one, we have to find the sum, and the sum is n minus 2 times 180. The reason why, since we have, let's go back and show this formula quick. So when you have 5 sides and you divide that into triangles, let's say start on the top vertex, and notice that we have how many triangles? We have 1, 2, 3, and the angles inside as interior angles, they all add up with the sum of the interior angles of those 3 triangles. So that's why we say 3 times 180 as the sum. That's why. It's usually 2 less than the number of sides. We're halfway. So number 11. A regular n-gon has exterior angle of measure of 15 degrees. So the exterior is 15 degrees. Something like that. So to experiment, let me show you what I have in mind. For 3 sides, when n equals 3, we have this, we have this, and we have this. And that's 360 divided by 3, which is 120. 360 divided by 3, which is 120. For the 4 sides, when n equals 4, let's double check. Okay, we have 1 here, we have 1 here, we have 1 here, and we have 1 here. So therefore 360 divided by 4, which is 90. And yes, that looks like 90, and that's the exterior. For 5, we're gonna go with the exterior angles, and if you notice, how many are they? They are 5, and they add up to 360. So 360 divided by 5, and that's 72 degrees. 72 degrees right here. So to do the math, when the exterior angle is given now, not the number of sides, we're going to do the following. We have this right here, 360 divided by n. We don't know how many sides. We don't know how many sides. That should equal to 15. We could switch between 15 and n. That's a shortcut. Or you could do the cross multiply. But trust me on this, that you could do the cross multiply. Or you could switch between 15 and n. Once you switch between 15 and n, we have 360 over 15 equals n. So n equals 24. We have 24 sides. Quickly, in case if you don't see the switch idea that you could switch, let's do the cross multiply. Cross multiply right here. We get 15 times n equals 360. Then we're going to divide by 15. Divide by 15. And now what do you have? You have n equals 360 over 15. So by switching, you're skipping a step. It's like a shortcut. So you could do a switch instead of doing the cross multiply. Number 12. Use Euler's formula to find the number of edges of a polyhedron that has 8 vertices. Before I move on and read the whole thing, let's make it quick since I have everything colored for you. 8 vertices, that means this is 8. And we have 6 faces, that means this is 6. Find the number of edges, that means this one is unknown. We'll just keep it E instead of X. The formula between vertices, edges, and faces is known to be V plus F equals E plus 2, and where everything is defined, what is F and V and so on. Let's write the formula right here. V plus E plus F equals E plus 2. V is 8, F is 6, E is unknown, plus 2, 8 plus 6, 14, equals E plus 2, subtract 2, subtract 2, and now we have E equals 12. So we have 12 edges. Let's see the 12 edges. Remember that we have 8 faces, 8 vertices, and 6 faces. Let me show you. So we said this is 8 and F is 6, and we came up with the edges to be 12. Let me show you. Let's go with the faces that are defined to be 6. We have front, right, back, left, top, and bottom side. So we have 4 on the sides and top and bottom, that is 6. Vertices, there are 8. Let's see them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's true. Let's look at the edges, which is 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that should do it. Number 13. An angle measures 37 degrees. What is the measure of its complementary angle? Same thing if they ask for supplementary angles. I used to switch or confuse myself between which one is which. In the first one, the sum is 90. 2 angles are called complementary angles if they add up to 90, and 2 angles will add up if they add up to 180. We call them supplementary angles. What I mentioned is, like, sometimes I get confused which one is complementary. Is it the 90 or the 180? Then I found that we could make this C 90, S 180, and C comes before S, 90 comes before 180. So that's another way to remember. Sometimes it's a good way to look for things to connect and help you memorize what's going on. So complementary adds up to 90, supplementary, they add up to 180. Okay. So let's finish the problem. We have 37 for complementary. Instead of writing x, I'm going to write C equals 90. Subtract 37 from both sides. This cancels, so the angle is 53 degrees. That's the answer. For the second one, we have 37 plus an angle missing. I'll use S for supplementary, adds up to 180 degrees. And also same idea, we're going to subtract 37, subtract 37. This cancels, and now the angle missing, which is supplementary to 37, equals 143 degrees. Okay. Number 14, we have the lines L and M are parallel lines. That's this line and this line. This line and this line are parallel lines. Find the measures of the angles shown. That's P, Q, R, and S. All the missing ones. Now, you could do this in a lot of different ways. Let me show you what I have. This angle right here and this angle right here are the same alternative exterior angles. Or we could think this way. This angle right here, let's use the highlighter. This angle right here and this angle right here are called corresponding angles. Or I could start by saying that this angle is 125 because it's vertical to the angle 125, and vertical angles are congruent. Now I could say that this angle right here and this angle right here are corresponding angles, so we have S equals 125. Also corresponding angles. Once we know S, we could find the angle next to it. That's this one here, because they add up to 180. And we could say that angle S as measure plus angle R is 180 because they add up to a straight line, straight angle. So 125 plus R equals 180. Subtract 125 from both sides. So we have R equals 180 minus 125. 180 minus 125, it's like subtract 100, that's 80 minus 25. 80 minus 20 is 60, minus 5, 55. 55. So that is 55 degrees, of course. Now let's go back to the figure. R is right here, this right here, that's R, and P is right there. Those are called corresponding angles. They are the same. So this angle right here, one more time, this right here is corresponding to this angle. So also P is 55. The last one is Q, and Q is, let's find Q. A lot of ways to do it, or different ways. Let's enlarge that triangle at the bottom side. That has Q here, and that has P right here. I'm looking at this small triangle, this right here, okay? Notice that the lines here are parallel lines, and this is a line that cuts through them, which means these are called corresponding angles. That says that this right here is 90, which means this is 90. So the inside angle inside is actually 90, because this is also 90. So we found P to be 55, so that's 55. It's kind of hard to write inside, so let's point to it. This is 55, and we know that 55 plus 90 plus Q should add up to 180, and that implies that Q is 35 degrees. So now we have them. Q, P, S, and R. That should do it. Number 15. Find the area of the triangle. The area of a triangle is known as A equals half times the base times the height or the altitude. So half is given to us. The base here is gonna end up 81, and the height is 41. So let's go back right here, 81.2, and the height is 41.0. Use the math or the calculator to do it. I have 1664.6. Of course, we can't ignore the units. For the area, it's meters square. So that's the answer. That's a quick one. Number 16. So 5 questions. A rectangle has area of 36. So let's write as we read. Area is 36 centimeters square, and the width is 3 centimeters. What is the length? The length is unknown. To solve the problem, A equals length times width. 36 equals length times the width, which is 3. Divide both sides by 3. We don't need a calculator for this. 3 cancels. L by itself, which is the length, 36 divided by 3, which is 12. So the length is 12 centimeter. Don't forget the units, because they gave me units, I have to include them. Number 17, find the distance x. That's one of the legs of this right triangle. The theorem says if a right triangle has legs of length a and b as shown right here, a square plus b square equals c square. Don't mix the c with a or b. You could switch a and b, but c is always the hypotenuse opposite, or the longest side opposite to the 90 degree. With that, I could go to this right here. That's my a, comparing to the notes. X, a square, plus b square, that's my b, which is 1, equals c square, which is 2 square. That's going to be also a quick one. So x to the second plus 1 square, which is 1, equals 4. Subtract 1 from both sides. X square equals 3. Take the square root. Since it's a length, we're not going to write plus minus. X equals square root of 3. That is x, which is more than 1 and less than 2. Number 18, find the area of the following figure. This is a trapezoid with bases A and B, the formula is half times the sum of the bases multiplied by the height or the altitude. Now what is A, or base 1? A is 9 plus 11, which is 20. And B is 20. So that's 20. That's 20. And the height is this right here, which we don't know. So to find the height, we could go to the side and think about the following. That we do have a right triangle with 9 right here and 15 right here. And the height is this right here. That's going to be one of the legs of a right triangle, but let's call it height. So now, to solve the problem, 9 square plus h square equals the hypotenuse, or c square, 15 square. So we have 81 plus 225 for 15, and that's the height square. Subtract 81 from both sides, and now we have the height square equals 144. Take the square root of both sides, that is 12. So we go back right here and write 12 for the height. So let's do that. That's 12 and that's 12. Finishing the problem, we have equals half times 20 plus 20, which is 40, times the height, which is 12. We could reduce between the numbers. Divide by 2, 1, divide by 2, 20. So 20 times 20 times 12. And that is 240. We don't see any units like centimeters or meters like the previous questions, but we can't leave it blank. Units square. Units square, or unit square. Number 19, find the volume of the following figure. Before I start, let's just do this right here. If I add these dashed lines to the base, and now we could see the base. That's the base. And if I go halfway to the center, that's going to be my radius. But the radius is not 20. That's a diameter on top. That's going to be 10 meters. The volume for this right circular cylinder is equal to the base times the height. But the base is a disk or a circle. We need the area of the circle, which is pi r square, and the height is known to be 4. So we have pi times r square times the height, which is 4. The height is 4, as you could see right here. 10 squared is 100. 100 times 4 is 400. So we could write here 400 pi. You could leave the pi, but don't forget the units. That's going to be meters square. And if you want to round, just use the calculator and use the key for the pi. I've used 3.14. That's still approximating, but keep it in approximate the last answer. 1256.64 meters square if you want to round. But it's okay to leave it in terms of pi. Last question. Find the surface area of the following figure. One more time before I start, let's add these lines. Since we need the surface area, I'm going to show you that we have 6 faces: the top and bottom side, the left, the back side, the front, and the right. So let's start with the lengthiest one. That's the top part. The top part is a trapezoid. It looks like this. And we do have 2 right angles on the left if we rotate it. This side is 12 and the bottom side is 20 and the top side is 15. Okay, let me show you what I mean. This is the 20 right here. The 15 is this side, but also we could copy it here. And that would be my height, which is the 12 right there. And we know that this is a trapezoid, so the area for the trapezoid will be half times base 1 plus base 2 multiplied by the height. Doing the math, we have half times 20 plus 15, which is 35, times 12. We could simplify between 2 and 12, divide by 2, 1, divide by 2, 6. 6 times 35, and the answer is 210. Okay, so we got the top part. Now, the back side, let's point to it this way. Sorry, switch to the eraser. The back side, which is that right here, is going to be 2 times 12, which is 24. The right side, is 15 times 2, which is 30. The front side, which is 13 times 2, and that's 26. Let's just keep it focused. Now this is the top, the back, the right, and the front. Let's go to the left. The left side is equal to 20 times 2. 20 times 2, which is 40. Now the bottom side is just like the top side. The bottom side is identical to the top side, so it is 210. Okay, now if you add them up, so we have, let's write on the side here, top, bottom, we have right, we have left, back, and front. The top side is 210. The bottom side is also 210. The right side, that's this side right here, 15 times 2, which is 30. The left side, which is this side right here, that's 20 times 2, which is 40. And the back side, which is this right here, that's 12 times 2, which is 24. And the front side, that's this right here, which is 13 times 2, that's 26. If you add them up, we get 540. Of course, we don't want to lose the units, centimeter square. the surface area is 540 centimeter square. And that should do it. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.